Welcome to the Professor Slots Podcast. We help slots enthusiasts improve their slots gambling performance with next-level tactics and strategies. Want to accelerate your slots journey, be more profitable, and understand casinos better to take advantage of them? You're in the right place. The Professor Slots team has over a decade of experience providing strategies for slots enthusiasts just like you. And now, to help you, here's Dr. John Friedel, Professor Slots.
Hello. Today's episode number 152 of the Professor Slots Podcast is an interview with another gambling podcast, Casino Kombat, where combat is spelled with a K. Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. states of Oregon and Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots Podcast show. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over how more bonus rounds are related to increased casino profits. Further, I reviewed Oklahoma slots. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember to sign up at professorslots.com/30days to register for my online course for slots enthusiasts. 30 days to play slots smarter and win, including how to leave a casino with your winnings. Today's interview was meant to be my interview by the host of the Casino Kombat podcast, known by his fans as the Ramblin' Gambler or simply TRG. However, it quickly became much more of a compare and contrast conversation where we basically ended up interviewing each other. So enjoy.
All right, everybody. All right, we've got a really a great guest for you today here in the virtual VIP lounge. We literally have with us a rocket scientist with so many degrees that I'm not even going to try to do them justice. He has written an amazing book on slot machine play that I found purely by accident. It's called Learning to Win, How to Make a Profit at Slot Machine Gambling. And if the little bits of stuff I've written about slot play and talked about, because I don't really know that, if that is slot play 101, then this is slot play 503. This is a scholarly work written by someone who is incredibly knowledgeable about this aspect of gambling. It reads a lot like a textbook, and I mean that as a compliment. I have actually found myself pulling out a highlighter and like I was in college highlighting things. So who we have with us today is John H. Friedel, Jr., PhD, who also goes by the name Professor Slots. So Professor Slots, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate you taking the time to join me here.
Well, that was a wonderful intro. Yes, it's nice to be here, and thank you for the introduction.
Oh, sure. So you have a very, very interesting origin story in the book. You came to gambling much later than I did in my life chronologically. And as you explain in the book, unlike a lot of us, you had some success pretty early in the process. So I thought maybe walk us through, because your origin story is in the book, but walk us through how you decided to write a book, and then maybe share with our listeners the book's journey from being an idea to something that's actually on the shelves and people can buy. And then I guess bonus, I found out kind of after the fact that you've got all these additional resources on your website.
Yes. What happened? My family gambles. They years ago, they enjoyed having harness racing in Michigan, where I grew up. It's not where I live now, and it's a type of horse racing with a small cart behind the horse and two-wheel cart, and if you've heard of it. And my family just loved that. So, gambling was a part of my growing up. Nobody thought poorly of it. Nobody did too many excesses of that. So didn't have a bad reputation. It was just part of my life. Now, when so that was there. But slots was relatively new. We'll call it 15 years ago, was when I kind of walked into a casino on my own for the first time. I was in graduate school in Iowa. My family's in Michigan, and I'd been going back and forth with all those degrees. It took a decade of going to graduate school to get half of my degrees. And so I got tired of just driving under Lake Michigan, outside of Chicago, along the highways there. So at one time I was like middle of summer, and I'm like, I'm going home the other way. which is through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan over to Duluth and then straight down to the university in Iowa that I was attending. And, it's a long trip, and I, became night. I was in the Upper Peninsula, and so I stopped at Kiewit Inn, Manistee. Or rather, I stopped at a hotel, and they gave me some free play for, just down the road to the casino. And I'm like looking at $20 in free play in my hand. They gave me tokens at the time, and I was like, okay. And I guess, and kind of nervous, and all this. I remember this pretty clearly, and I understand that people who are never played slots before, go through much of the same thing. Walking into the casino, a little worried. It's immediately dark. It's smoky, at least it was then in Michigan. And air handling systems were not great that 15 years ago. And it was just lots of flashing lights. And I remember like 20 minutes later, I had spent the $20 in tokens, another $50, which I could barely afford to lose. And I'm standing outside and my clothes are smelling like smoke and I have allergies to tobacco. And I'm just like, what just happened? And, did I win? I don't know. I have no memory. And so, but I had this long drive home. So I did this long drive home and I started thinking about what was that? What rules do I need to have so that I don't spend my food money? And now I just have to get home to my apartment with my ramen noodles and, just get there. But I didn't spend my gas money, thankfully. And anyway, I got home, and by that point, I had been thinking about, okay, do this, do that, be sure about not spending money. It's the important things I think that you've already spoken about in your podcast. Golden rule slots, don't take money into the casino. That's I call it my golden rule slots. Don't take money into the casino that you can't afford to comfortably lose. And so that's big rule. Yep. And as you know, so I take the logic approach and started putting some of this stuff together. And then I was over at Omaha Zoo on another trip, and there was a lakeside casino, and I used my rules to only this much to spend, and when you spend it, you get to leave and all that. And what an atrocious, awful rule. I had no idea how wrong it was. I left 12 hours later. As soon as I walked in, I won $500. I only took in, $50, and I had to get back down to $50 before I was allowing myself to leave. But rules are rules. And it's, I'm like, I got to drive home yet. And it's just a lot of experiences where I was kind of shocked by the whole industry. Hotels were like, we don't take cash because you have to pay later and you might not have cash. We don't take credit because you can match up your credit cards. You have to pay in advance, in only certain ways. And I'm like, what is this?
That's a whole new animal.
Yeah. And just so they could protect themselves from people who have gambling issues. And so I drove home, almost hit a deer, 2:00 in the morning. But I was thinking that whole time going, okay, so wow, there's a bit more to this. And then when I got home, I tried to find someplace closer, and that was in Des Moines. I don't know if I should mention the casino, but the one in Des Moines in Altoona. And I played for a low limit machine. Then I started looking up on the internet. At the time, we didn't have Google; we had Netscape. To really date myself here,
I remember.
Yeah. Then after a few months, I decided on some better rules. Game with multipliers, visible, on the end of a row. Things I really expanded on later, and I got my mind blown twice. I went in, walked around, found what I was looking for that Netscape searches said, this is what you try. And I sat down, and before 5 minutes had gone by, I won a hand pay. And then, 4 hours later, I won another hand pay. And in between those two times, I think the first one was only like $1,200 and the second one was like $6,500, and in between those, I wasn't spending the prior hand pays. Almost every push of the button, I was making something. I started making little hash marks on my hand It was just an incredible experience. Hash marks on my hand. This is where the $25 wins, $50 wins, $100 wins went, $1,000 wins. I had like 60 of those. And I'm just like, it's $60,000. I'm just working through. Did I use a card? No, I didn't use a card. I didn't know anything. And so,
didn't know. Yeah.
And after, 4 hours later, I'm like, I'm going to go home. And I, kind of like thought about it for 3-4 hours. And then I was back later that evening for another 4 hours, won another couple of hand pays. They're all listed in the book. And I ended up, the next 6 days, I don't think I went like 2 or 3 of those days because, I was in school and graduate school and things had to be done. But then I was like, get back there. And I won 13 hand pays. Totaling, what was it? $30,000 with all the other money and the winnings from that. The first day I had just under $10,000 and it was all very in cash, and I'm just like, that's my annual salary as a stipend as a graduate student. What is this? And that blew my mind that you could just go back and win, and all you did was win. And that wasn't anything. I didn't know much about slots, but what the rumor was, or what was just percolating around, was you lose, and I wasn't losing, and I was like, so this isn't luck. This is the casino's doing something, and that's about as far as I got because I was like, I don't know what they're doing, but I just know that I'm winning. And then that blew my mind. But then my mind was blown again when I went in on the 7th day. I took my usual $500. Put it into the slot machine, and it was gone about 10 minutes later. And I was like, not only did they do it, which blew my mind, but they stopped. And that blew my mind even more. It's like, well, I kind of thought the first, when I was winning, that it's kind of obvious that this is not statistics, anything like something's going on. I need to figure out what that is. And then they stopped, and I'm like, well, let's just call that confirmation. And so based on that, long story short, I graduated. I moved to Connecticut. There really wasn't much to go see there. I went to Mohegan Sun once, but it was just all different. And I realized now that different casinos have different things going on. It's not, it's not like I'm lucky and it's the universe. It's between me and the casino, not between me and the universe. And so, I kind of said, I need to think about what happened. And I spent the next 10 years just reflecting on, what the heck was that? And start reading a little bit more about what's going on. I didn't find any books. And I was like, okay, now I realize there's a couple of anecdotal stuff out there, but nothing like a book. And I apologize for the books. You're reading like a textbook. It doesn't really, it's not too bad. I try to make it entertaining.
Oh, I didn't want to consider that a negative. I wasn't calling it that in a negative way.
But it still could be.
I was impressed.
Well, it still could be. I wrote the last thing I wrote before that was a dissertation for my PhD. And so, that's the only example that I have. Anyway, and I can easily get distracted and off topic and tell you about the famous author, the best-selling author I met, who said, don't wait, start writing now. And a few months before I came up with the idea to write this book. But I had noticed that there wasn't a slots book out there that mattered. And my audience members still tell me that you're it, John. And maybe that's true or maybe that's not. But I think they've looked hard and long. And so I 10 years of reflection. Then I got recruited to a new job in Ohio about a year and a half before the casinos opened with slots. They had horse tracks before that. And so they came to Ohio in 2013 with the state allowing slot machines at casinos, but also at the racetracks. And don't need to get into all those details. It's interesting and I think helpful to understand what the rules are if you're going to win at something. But
well, let let me interject, if I could, just interject there one question. Are they, from what I know of that part of the country, are they slot machines run by a gambling commission, or are they machines that look like slot machines, but you're actually playing the lottery? And maybe you don't know that. Maybe that's unfair.
I do. I have researched again and again. I do one a week. All of the states, the federal district, the District of Columbia, and the territories, which, by the way, Northern Mariana Islands is one of our territories, the U.S. territories, and they're called the Macau of the Mariana Trench. So some of these territories are just huge into gambling. But in any case, I've gone through each of those about 4 times. It takes me about 13 weeks of doing weekly articles to go through them, and I post on those so people understand what the gaming rules are. What are the limitations and who does what, and all these things that can be helpful to understand. You're paying taxes, what's going on. And so in Ohio, they have 4 what they call casinos. Technically, casinos is an overused term. Let's call them casino resorts. And then you have 7 racetracks that are allowed to have slot machines, not poker games, not table games, not even video poker, but just slot machines. And those have the identical gaming regulations, both the casino resort and the racetracks with slot machines. Some people call them racinos. Now, they're identical, but they're actually controlled by 2 different groups. So the casino resorts, I'm sorry, I call myself Professor Slots because I'll never not be kind of like a little bit of a professor. So to get the end of this story, and I was a popular professor, by the way, but to get to the end of the story, the State Gaming Commission runs the casino resorts, the 4 casino resorts, and the Ohio State Lottery runs the 7 racetracks with slot machines, but they have the same rules, word for word. There is an addition for the casino resorts, which is they work the Ohio Gaming Commission works with the Ohio State Police, and they record the crimes that occur at the 4 casino resorts. And so you can go look through that and you can see how many people tried to cheat, and burglary and thievery. Apparently that's 2 different crimes and over $500, under $500. And you could just look through this list, and casino by casino, casino resort by casino resort, you can see what kind of crimes take place. And I don't know it. There are no other U.S. states, territories, or the federal district that actually record this. So if you are in a medium-sized casino and you want to know in some other state, and you want to know how many crimes take place, go to the Ohio gaming statistics and, pick what would be a good one to pick? Jack Cleveland. Right now it's Hard Rock Cincinnati. It's their 3rd owner since they opened in 2013. And you can just see what kind of crimes take place. I mean, some people are worried about, how difficult it is at some of these places. And now you can just see what the state reports, but only Ohio does that. So that's the unique thing and my point here is that every state has these unique rules, and they're quite fascinating. But go ahead. I could go on from that.
That's fine. We have that in common. And to jump off of that, because I did see on your website that you had these state by state breakdowns, and once again, a very amazing effort on your part to break all this down and to bring those resources to gamblers. The idea that, if you really want to get into your state, you can go to professorslots.com and find your section on this. And obviously you understand this at an incredibly in-depth level. But you talk in the book about slot machines becoming a game of skill instead of a game of chance. And I really like to think that the game of casino gambling, not necessarily the game in the casino, but the bigger game, the comps and the gifts and all of that is a game also that I always think is what I'm playing, and that there's skill there. You know, there's obviously skill in playing blackjack well and properly, but does the fact that, I mean, if a state determined that your techniques had actually made slot machines a game of skill, would that, if they believed that and acted on it, would that make them less legal in some states?
No, it would make them. That would make them more legal, because more states restrict games of chance than states restrict games of skill. If you are in a tribal casino, for instance, they operate under two. They can operate under two possible gaming regulations. The first is a federal law, Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of 1988, which allows them to have bingo-style games, which are games of skill. And they can have that. They don't have to talk to the state. The state just needs to have any form of gambling. That's one of the little details in that law, that federal law. And if they have any kind of gambling at all, the casino can, like bingo is very popular, the room full of people playing, then yeah, sure. The tribal casinos can have that. They don't have to work out the second set of gaming regulations, which is called a tribal state compact. And in the tribal state compact, they negotiate with the state government to have games of chance, but they're allowed to have games of skill. Now,
I see. Okay.
And if you're in Indiana, they have. It's been a couple of years, 2-3 years now. They started opened a tribal casino. What is it? Four Winds. I want to say New Buffalo. No, South Bend. That's within the Indiana border from Michigan, and they have poker, but they don't have and that means they can have video poker, which means they can have games of skill. They don't have a tribal gaming compact, but they can still have some gaming machines because that's the federal law, and they've even since you can. How do I put this? For those people, and your audience may be a larger group of people who understand poker. Does anybody win at poker?
Oh, sure, people win. I mean,
yes.
The house wins because they're just taking a rake.
But not everybody. But not everybody.
Right.
Right. So that's slots. The casino with poker. When you get a tournament where you're not switching out players, at the end of the tournament, one person won, and that means it's.
Oh yeah, I wasn't thinking about from the tournament point of view.
Well, I'm just saying when you have people coming and going, it's a little harder to notice this. But somebody gets all the money, all the chips,
right?
And so you have a winner. Now you could be sharing all of this. It's a game of chance when you're rolling dice. Now there's questions of dice control and whether, that sort of thing happens. And it's not for me to, I'm a specialist, a gambling specialist. I do slots. And it might be historic horse racing in Kentucky. It might be based on the state lottery in the state of Washington. It could be a tribal gaming compact, but it's all, electronic games for me. But it's if you start thinking about slot machines, to get back to your original question, games of chance versus games of skill, poker, if you treat it like a game of skill, then you have some say. Now you get the cards you get, right? And then you do optimal play, and optimal play is different depending on which particular game of poker you're playing. And it's not optimal play if you use the wrong set of rules. And people who know poker well understand that. That's where the skill lies. Now, there's also other things that, we're not really talking about, which is like money management and other things, discipline, all that skill. But as far as playing the slot machine, as far as playing poker, you have skill. And a lot of people don't agree with that being the case for slots. But it's just, people will say, I got a message today on YouTube saying, here's an idea, random number generator, which was basically a sarcastic comment. And I'm like, right. I've written articles on this, you don't know what random number generators mean. I think about, what's that course of educational topic, STEM? It's yep. Just like, we could use more of that kind of education. A lot of people think about you roll a die, one of them, and it's a 1 in 6 chance that one of the numbers will come up. And that's just not how slot machines work. One of my audience members during a live stream appreciated my using another game, roulette. Spin a wheel on roulette, and it slows down, comes to a stop. If it's perfectly level, it's an honest game, and it's randomly determining one of the numbers. That, is not a slot machine. The reel on a physical real slot machine, is spinning, and it is not, going to land after it slows down and stops. It's not that kind of random. All the slot reels are on motors, and they're going to stop based on the decision made when you made the bet. Sorry, everybody, didn't know that. The machine didn't tell anybody, it's still a surprise to you. After all those bonus rounds and everything you made, all that decision making was made right when you press the button. You're just, they're just extending when you find out how you did. And that.
Well, and then and I'm sure you know this, but from my real job in computers and IT, mm-hmm. I have always been told, mm-hmm. I have always learned, I have always told people that computers can't actually generate truly random numbers, which is why I always thought slot machines generate 3 and pick 1.
I've taught that in physics. It's pretty good these days. There was a time 15, 20 years ago when Intel had a bad chip, and the random number generator was off. It wasn't random, and everybody was like, oh, I need to have the chip replaced on my computer. All that's long since been fixed. You're right. It is not random. You would not want to do this to determine the weight of the universe or, some astronomical calculations, which people I know do. And you need something that's better than that. Better than what can be done with a chip and a kernel. But it's all of those are close enough. It's good enough unless you're, trying to do very sensitive scientific measurements. It's not at all good enough. But for casinos, for slot machines, you'd never know the difference. It's, they make revenue is like $1.8 billion a month on a mid-sized Indiana casino. Profit is, they return 90% of that, which is a shame because Nevada returns 93% of it. They're on the other end of the spectrum. Right. This is what happens when you look at the state laws. But this is what you learn. But so they make $180 million, and because that's 10% of $1.8 billion per month. Now they have to pay their electric bill and they have to do the other fees and pay their employees. So it's not all profit, but it is what they start with as far as profit. And that's what was your question? I got distracted by billions and millions.
Well, no, we did what we both do. We started one place, and then we went someplace else. Then we end up to the point where we're not sure where we started, and we'll find out if the audience thinks that's great or if the audience thinks that's less than great. I suspect they'll think it's fabulous. And then I'm going to hit you with a question I've always wanted the answer to that you just made me think of, which is more of us being us, I guess. Mm-hmm. So you said that when the random number is generated, I was actually just talking to Mrs. TRG about this a couple of weeks ago. You said that the random number is generated and the machine knows how much you're going to win, but you're just waiting for it to reveal that to you.
Yes.
So jumping off of that thought, I push the button.
Yep.
Right? The cute little panda or the phoenix or whatever starts dancing, and I get the game where I get to pick the coins or the symbols that determine what progressive I get.
Right.
Is it inevitable, regardless of what coins I pick, that the progressive is going to be whatever it's already been decided when I push the button?
Yes, except if it's a Class 2 machine. On a Class 2 machine at a tribal casino, that choice matters.
Okay.
On a Class 3 Vegas-style machine, that choice doesn't matter. Now, let me just sort of explain the pushing of the button, because we brushed past that maybe a little bit too fast. You press the button to make a bet. The random number generator calculates. Everybody who says random number generator is right about this part. What they get wrong is a poor explanation that's out there that I'm thinking about correcting, and maybe break the internet when I do it. But the poor explanation is, what is it picking from? It's randomly choosing what? And that's where people go wrong. And I need to explain all this at another time. But the second thing it does, okay, so, brushing over that little detail, so I don't break the internet on your show. I know you want me to. I know you want me to.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Can you handle the truth? But in any case, the second thing, and they do use the random number generator. It doesn't have to be the same one that's legally protected. They use a random number generator to say, okay, so the first time the random number generator we found out how much this person is going to win with this bet. The second use of a random number generator, and doesn't have to be the one that's legally protected, that was used the first time, chooses how might I give this amount of money to the player. Do I just go straight to the real combinations? Do I go, to one of several possible bonus games on a video slot machine? Do I choose, which combination? How do I give them this money? And that's the second choice that's made. And now I look at all this and, I understand it. But I look at this from the point of view of, okay, is there anything in any of that I can use to take advantage of the casino? Is there anything in there that I can use to win? And there's a few things. But, ask your questions and we'll get to what we get to.
We could probably do this a lot longer than we have time available to do this.
It looks like it.
It's absolutely fascinating, and you're demonstrating your incredible expertise in this very specific area. I guess to bring things maybe perhaps back to something a little more generic to all gambling, because you kind of pointed me in a direction. We were chit-chatting, sending some emails back and forth, and you pointed me to a part of your book where you talk about record keeping. I'm a huge fan of record keeping. I think record keeping is critical to good gambling, regardless of the gambling device technique, whatever you want to call it. I don't think you can be good at this without records, but maybe give us your point of view on record keeping, how you see record keeping as it relates to gambling. Because I noticed in the book, maybe from your engineering background, whatever it was, you were record keeping before you understood how to be good. You went to that almost instinctively in my reading of the book. So how do you perceive record keeping in gambling?
Absolutely. I was an engineering graduate student. What do you mean I wouldn't keep a record? I kept a record of just about everything. My calories, my proteins, my sugar in grams. My sister is just in awe of this. I've shown her my spreadsheet and she's like, I like your use of colors in your graph. I'm like, well, and so you want to present these things, and it's just years of going to school and multiple engineering degrees. But yes, when I won those 13 hand pays in 6 days and, kept track of what I took into the casino and whatever I could seem reasonable to me, I remember the next year I went to one of the tax preparation services that I had always used, one of the national ones. And I went in and I handed him my 13 W-2Gs. And he's just like, what's going on? And I said, yeah. And I told him the little story, maybe the first time I had actually told what happened to somebody. And he's like, he asked me the weirdest question. How much money did you take in? And I said, well, I took in $500 that first day. Everything was from that. And he's like, no, how much did you take in the second day? And the third day? And the fourth day? what did you take in each day? And I was like, oh, well, did you want that? And he's like, yes. And I got it home in a spreadsheet. I'll go get it, I guess. And I ended up with another. The way I look at it, I got another hand pay. It was like a $5,000 tax return. On my annual salary of being twice that, around 10K. And I was just like, wow, I never thought I'd actually make any money from keeping records. That's a new one on me. But yes, if you pay taxes and you want to get them back, a lot of people, you can deduct up to your winnings. Now, you may not have winnings. You may not have a W-2G, but you can, if there's other things that you can get. You actually have to win. The second thing you have to do, and you can spend it, but as long as you keep a record, you're safe because you can get those taxes that may be mandatory. You can get those back if there are taxes if you win a hand pay, for instance. But you do need to what's the term that we're looking for here? Itemize your deductions. And
right.
And I talked to lots of slots players, and they're just like, well, I don't make enough money to itemize my deductions. And I said, I tell them you're one jackpot away from doing that. And you might be December 31st. You win $30,000 hand pay. My largest was $27,000, and I was like, God, that was shock for me. But if you record your how much you spend, and the IRS, the United States IRS is very generous. They say gas, food that you buy on the way to the casino, food you buy at the casino if it's not free, keep track of certain pieces of information, and it's all right there in IRS.gov, and search for gambling deductions, and you'll find the articles and check the latest updates all the time, and I reference those a lot. But that's not enough, right? I want to know if going the morning after one of my strategies, the morning after a very busy night, the morning after Black Friday, is a good time to go to that particular casino. There's an accounting practice that I'm trying to take advantage of. Not all casinos have it, and those that have it don't always need it because they guessed right the day before to get their performance metrics for a busy night. Anyway, I have articles on these things. But in any case, if it was, what about Christmas Day? Christmas is coming, Christmas Eve. How did I do last year? You're going to remember how you did where last year so that you know what you should or could try this year that worked last year. So when I create these notes, gambling record keeping for the IRS income tax preparation, I add a few more columns than the IRS needs, which is, notes, what kinds of wins, what technique was I using to win, which technique was I using but lost. So don't do that again unless it has a new owner. Then you need to check them again to see if the new owners switched to something that's common but wasn't at that casino before that happened. And so the gambling notes is actually gameplay analysis. And all it needs to do is give you a $5,000 hand pay, and you're like, well, I kind of paid for it.
Yep. Well, and I'm the same way. I've been a proponent of record keeping, for a long time. And it actually evolved for me over the last, 16, 17 months. I actually have, with a very, very simple technique, I didn't code anything, but I actually created an app on my phone.
Yes.
And I track every casino transaction. If I tip the girl who brings me a bottle of water, $2, and then at some point when there's a break in the game, I stand up and fire up the app and record that $2. Everything I won, everything I lost, which machine I won on, how I won on that machine. And then also there's sometimes, I've got an other category where the number's always 0. But that's where I record other aspects of what I saw in the casino, because you're absolutely right. It's tough enough to remember 3 weeks later what happened.
Right.
And look at things from a monthly basis. It's challenging to remember exactly what happened 6 months ago, a year ago. So I'm a huge fan of that, and it sounds like we're similar. Get not only what the IRS might need, but get everything else. They're not going to trip me up and say, well, how do you know that you bought this meal and it wasn't comped? Well, I know because it says so right here in my notes. This is the restaurant we ate at. There were 2 of us, and we ate this meal and we spent this much on it.
Yes.
And
that's not covered. And that's not covered by win-loss statements. And so a lot of people are just saying, I have my win-loss statements from the Players Club, and I always use my Players card. And yet there's a lot of people who are like, I don't always use a Players card. In any case, they don't they don't include the gas that was, you spent for traveling to the casino, or the food you ate on that trip. Maybe it's a 4-hour drive instead of maybe 15 minutes from your house. Whatever. You can record that because the IRS says you can, but it is not something that is on your win-loss statements, particularly since a lot of win-loss statements also just do the difference between your wins and losses. And so you have some number surrounded by parentheses. It's a negative number, and that's how much you spent. And people say, I'm going to submit that to the IRS. And the IRS says, no, I want to know how much you won and lost, and we'll do the math. Thank you very much.
Right.
And so these little details, and so yes, I agree. It can be a bit much to include the gameplay analysis, but as long as you put down Black Friday day after, okay. That's very useful a year later, as long as you know where you went. Now, you can do play-by-play, although I do have some concerns about that. That can, for you and me, that's a lot of data, and it can be a lot of fun to analyze it. But as much time as you spend playing it, you're probably going to be doing as much time doing analysis. And that all could be, we want to find a way for everybody to be able to use this in a common manner. So you record anything, and it's probably going to help you, all your stuff or less. But right now, even just getting tax return, getting a refund when you weren't before, there's all kinds of reasons to do this. And there's a lot of misunderstandings out there. My accountant, my business is growing, and so this year I got an accountant, or actually the end of last year. And now he does this sort of thing. So I'm inviting him onto my live stream, my Saturday at noon live stream in December, one of them. And it could be December 18th. We're firming it up. And I'm just going to have him answer questions from my audience who's always saying like myths and rumors and misunderstandings. He's going to say, as a professional accountant, as a CPA, this is the answer to your question. He's legally providing a professional response. And I tell people I'm not a tax professional. Make sure you confirm anything I say, but you would confirm it with him. And so he doesn't, it's a little bit of a legal liability for him, but then he's just like, I do this professionally day in, day out, for years, decades. And so he knows the answer.
Right. It's an extra hour of liability in his life. It has lots of hours of liability.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So yes, what are the rules? But as far as gameplay analysis, there's anything would help. And this is the skill. This is the skill we're talking about. The biggest barrier to thinking of slots as a skill-based game for many people is people saying, well, it's just luck. And I'm like, do you want me to show you the math? How, yes, there is luck in it, but it is not fully luck. This is not, shuffling a deck of cards well and throwing the cards on the table and saying, look, that's random. That's the universe speaking. But now you've got these random number generators that are not perfect random number generators, or pseudo random number generators. And what are they picking from? And these things they choose from, this list they choose from, actually there's 6 different possibilities. It's called a probability distribution. Some people would know it as a frequency distribution. And they had to improve the odds on not winning 0 on a slot machine. If you had a physical real slot machine, I'm going to have to use math because I use math. If you have a physical real slot machine, it has 3 reels, and each reel has 12 symbols. Then how many possible outcomes are there? 1,726. 12 times 12 times 12. On the pay table, how many possible ways to win are there? Now, the pay table doesn't show everything, but let's just say 50. 50 ways out of 1,726. What is that? That's about 4%. A little bit less than that. Let's just call it 3%. That's what it's closest to. What is the average in Nevada for a slot machine? 93%. What's the average in Indiana? 90%. Not 3%. So they adjust slot machines from being fully random to you don't get 0 as much. You get a win, something non-zero, more often. Even though most of the real combinations end up being 0-1, they improve the odds. Now, they also improve the odds on some of the lower wins. 2 cherries, because if it was fully random, getting 3 cherries would have the same odds as the 3 Wheel of Fortune special symbols. The top jackpot would be the same odds to win 3 cherries as it is to the top jackpot in a slot machine. Can't have that. You got to reduce the odds on the top jackpot. And so from the beginning, 100 years ago, Charles Fay in San Francisco made the first slot machine. It was actually a machine that took coins. So that's why it's called a slot machine. He invented that aspect of things and had to change it so that it would be better odds than you would just get if it was random. So it's never not been there. And so if that's the case, then what odds has it been set to? And how does that whole process work? And nobody thinks about that because, the barrier to understanding that slots is a skill-based game, includes skill in its process, is to understand that it's not fully random, not fully luck-based. And a lot of people can't get past that, which is okay. I'm going to switch topics here. I'm going to say it's okay. We need losers. If slot machines, if everybody wanted slot machines, the casino would shut down. Please, if you believe that it's a fully luck-based, more power to you. Go out there and give money to the casino and help them pay their electric bill, because we're not.
Yep. Yeah, because we're gonna take some of what you lost, and they're not going to complain because there are more of you than there are of us.
Yeah,
it's exactly right. It's funny because one of my things I do in my podcast is I have things called casino wisdoms that are numbered, and I don't mean it sacrilegiously, but they're numbered like scripture so that we can remember them easily. They're just little tidbits of information that I think we need to know and remember and be able to remember easily. And casino wisdom number 58, and I'm stealing it from some old Roman general. I forget who he was, but he
Seneca.
Said, luck is the intersection.
Yeah, Seneca, I think it is. Yeah,
sounds right. Yep, sounds right. But it's the intersection of opportunity and preparation, and which says it isn't luck. It's as you're pointing out, skill. It's being prepared. It's being knowledgeable, and then it's taking the opportunity that preparation created. And you're kind of saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny how often good gamblers have come to that.
Yes.
To that observation.
Yes. No, I'm growing. I'm growing so fast since I decided to. I won 90 jackpots. That's a hand paid over $1,200. Get a W-2G in 9 months. And then I won a car. And basically, because I'd been spending so much and winning so much that I had a lot of points, so I used slots to sort of win the car because I had a lot of entries. And then you asked me to spin a wheel, and I'm like, that's what I do. I spin wheels. And so yeah, right in my wheelhouse. So before I won the car, I was like, there's no book out there. I've got all these notes that I've been taking over these 9 months. And, what should I do? What should I should write a book. And then I won the car and I'm like, okay, now I have to write the book. And so I switch over to that and learn more and organize my ideas. And that's part of, I think, a previous question you had about, how did you go about doing this? Why did you write the book? And I self-published. I looked into actual publishing with a literary agent. And the percentages, a lot of people think you make money from writing a book. You don't. If you're a bestseller, you can get a royalty check and send your kid to college all 4 years, all 5 years. But if you're not a bestseller, it's less than $20K per book. And if you make 2 books a year, and they sell, on average, the medium amount, you might make $40,000 a year. And it's just like, that's $40,000 you might not otherwise have, but you do write every day, at least on one page. Right. And so I self-published, and it's basically to help people understand. A lot of my content is for free. A lot of the stuff that I share is just freely available. It's been great getting on YouTube. I probably should have done that first instead of last. There's things that are not yet, posted there, but they are on my website. And the book is to explain where I got all this. But I recently realized a lot of people don't even go to the, read books. And so I created an audio version, and it's all on Amazon, but soft cover, hardcover, ebook, all those are there. But I decided to create a course that would have all my ideas basically updated, not quite constantly, a couple times a year. And I'll just redo everything a couple times a year. But if you don't want to spend $97 on my online course, for slots enthusiasts, how to play 30 days to play slots smarter and win, just watch all my content. It's hundreds of hours. The course is meant to get you through my stuff kind of systematically. But it's all free too, except for the homework and the leading questions and, trying to teach things. Just watching the video, you need to put it into practice, and I hope you do that in the online course. But if you want to see it all for free, it's all for free too, and it just takes a lot more time. And this is what's being updated. The story of how I learned it, where I learned it, what I learned is in the book. But we're sweeping through casinos. They're sweeping through casinos with multi-denomination slot machines that are replacing penny machines. Yes, one of the choices on a multi-denomination machine is 1 cent, but now it's 2 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent. And so all those penny machines are actually being replaced with multi-denomination machines. And what does that mean? The minimum bets are increasing from penny machines used to be able to make a 1 cent bet. When did that go away? Right. It's 68 cents, 88 cents. I think I saw as low as 30 cents one time. And I'm like, dang, just raise the minimum cost. Casinos, my goodness, it's like a racket. But you can take advantage of the casinos that do this. And I, share how.
Well, and it's a great service, and we have been very on brand for what I do. We started with a question, and then we came all the way around, and we skipped a couple things because we talked about them, and then we ended back up with the first question or the second question. I did see that you have a course up on the website, and the little bits that I've had time to look at the website since we started talking roughly a week ago or whatever it was. It's really impressive. You've got a tremendous amount of stuff out there for everybody at professorslot.com. And you've been very generous with your time today, and I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed the conversation. We just had the conversation, and we weren't going to put it out there for everybody. Anything I've missed? Anything you'd like to share? Any other topics you'd like to talk about?
I just that I'm not much of a marketer. I put this stuff out there, and I'm just like, okay, done. And there's apparently quite a bit more to that. I have. I'll try to say a couple of things. I have a YouTube channel, Professor Slots. I have YouTube.com/Professor Slots. I have a podcast, Professor Slots. I have a website, ProfessorSlots.com. I have, an online course. I have books on Amazon. You actually need my name for that. I don't know.
They don't, because I have it. I actually have. I have your book linked on our website,
excellent.
CasinoCombat.com, in the TRG recommend section, and that link has the book right there in the books part, and it will take them to all the versions of your book, hardcover, softcover, Kindle, audio. All of them are all right there for people.
Wonderful, thank you. And there's more. There's I'm trying to be thorough, but one of the things that's the reason why I'm growing is not so much because I'm a great marketer, because I'm not. I'm trying to get there. Is because people want answers. It's becoming a situation where people are seeing strange things going on at their casino, like, the stuff I talk about. And so they go searching for answers for stuff that they've seen. So I'm not trying to create a mystery in somebody's head on how things work. The people that are listening to this podcast who think about playing slot machines and go, that is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. It doesn't seem like that's, luck-based winning. There's some skill here. I wonder if somebody could explain it to me. And so that's who's finding me. Those people who are like, I'm looking for answers. And so, right. Word of mouth. And if only I was good at marketing, then I'd be really popular. So,
that's one of the reasons it's one of the visions I had, maybe one of the side reasons. One of the visions I had was, for years and years and years and years, for decades, I was figuring this out all by myself and reading books at the library. And then I met my very good friend, Gabriel. And now I had a thought partner. And now we're starting to figure things out together. Right. And we're able to compare his casino offers and his play, which he's very honest with me about, with my offers and my play, which I'm very honest with him about. And then gradually, as my podcast, Casino Combat, has grown, now I'm meeting other gamblers, and we're pooling our information and we're sharing our information. And I'm meeting people like you, and I'm meeting another author, Charlie Frere, and I'm hearing his feedback and his knowledge, and we're all getting smarter, and we're all kind of sharing what we're seeing happen together, because none of us are seeing all of it, but it is us against the casino.
Yeah.
Us smart players against them. And the more knowledge we can gather, the better off we all are. It just absolutely helps us.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Yep.
All right. Well, the book is Learning to Win, How to Make a Profit at Slot Machine Gambling. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation as much as I've enjoyed having it. Professor Slots, thanks for being on. A standing invitation. Anytime you think you'd like to do this again, we'll figure out another format or another way to do it. Because I think this has been great for my audience, and I'd certainly be happy to do it again. So thank you very much.
Yes, you're very welcome. If your audience has a specific question, they can ask me. They can ask you to have me back on, and we could talk about just one thing. How to win on progressives, strategies, this, that, I heard about this. We could talk about just gambling record keeping. This was meant to be like a bit of a whirlwind of topics about slots. But if you want to pick one, or your audience wants to pick one, for future episodes, just let me know.
Remember to sign up at ProfessorSlots.com/30 days to register for my online course for slots enthusiasts. 30 days to play slots smarter and win, including how to leave a casino with your winnings. This is the next segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing by far anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Oregon slots. Here goes. Oregon slot machine casino gambling consists of 9 tribal casinos and many bars, taverns, and pari-mutuel wagering sites with video lottery terminal, VLT, style slot machines. There is a theoretical payout limit for non-tribal VLTs, but none for video slot machines at tribal casinos. No return statistics are publicly available. The minimum legal gambling age in Oregon depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos, it's 21. For poker rooms, with bingo, the lottery, and pari-mutuel wagering, it's 18. Oregon state law says bars and taverns can have up to 6 VLT-style slot machines, along with a restriction of how close together these businesses may be relative to one another. Pari-mutuel wagering sites may have up to 10 VLT-style slot machines. At non-tribal locations, the maximum bet is $2.50, while the maximum jackpot is $600. Up next is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. It is legal to own a slot machine privately in the state of Oregon if it is 25 years old or older. The Oregon Lottery regulates VLT-style gaming machines at non-tribal retailers. The lottery's 1992 Video Poker Lottery Terminal Network was the first centrally controlled gaming system in the U.S. In 2005, the VLT network added Class III Vegas-style line games for slots. 8 out of Oregon's 9 federally recognized American Indian tribes have negotiated tribal state gaming compacts. Regulation of tribal gaming in Oregon is by the Oregon State Police and the tribal gaming commissions of each individual tribe. The Oregon Tribal Gaming Alliance is a coalition of these tribes which own and operate casinos in Oregon. In 2015, tribal gaming accounted for less than 32% of all gaming conducted in Oregon. Nearly 2/3 of gaming takes place at 2,550 commercial sites. In this section, I'll discuss Oregon gambling establishments. There are 9 American Indian tribal casinos in Oregon and 2,550 retailers operated by the Oregon Lottery. The largest casino in Oregon is Spirit Mountain Casino. The second largest casino is Wild Horse Resort and Casino. As usual, when there are too many casinos to mention here, a complete list along with a casino map are on my webpage for this state at professorslots.com/OR. As an alternative to enjoying Oregon slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Oregon is to the north, Washington, to the east, Idaho, to the south, California and Nevada, and to the west, the Pacific Ocean. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit professorslots.com followed by its 2-letter postal designation. For example, my Washington slots article is available at professorslots.com/WA. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Oregon? If so, join our Oregon Slots community on Facebook at professorslots.com/FBOR. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Oregon. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, professorslots.com/FBOR. Join us. For Oregon's tribal casinos, no payout limits have been set, nor are actual return statistics publicly available. For non-tribal sites controlled by the Oregon Lottery, theoretical payout limits are available within the game's menu for each individual VLT-style gaming machine. A payout range is due to potential bonus rounds or other game features. The maximum theoretical payout is 96%. Extended play games may exceed this maximum. These payout percentages by game theme are also online at the Oregon Lottery. In summary, Oregon slot machine casino gambling consists of 9 tribal casinos and 2,550 commercial sites, including pari-mutuel wagering facilities. Retailers can have 6 gaming machines, while racetrack betting sites can have 10 machines. There is no theoretical payout limit for video slot machines at Oregon's tribal casinos, nor are return statistics publicly available. However, non-tribal VLTs each show their theoretical payout limit within the game theme menu as well as online at the Oregon Lottery. The maximum theoretical limit for these non-tribal VLTs is 96%. Remember to sign up at professorslots.com/30days to register for my online course for slots enthusiasts. 30 days to play slots smarter and win, including how to leave a casino with your winnings. Up next is Pennsylvania slots. Here goes. Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling consists of 12 casinos, of which 6 are pari-mutuel racetracks with slot machines, 4 are standalone casinos, and 2 are casino resorts. Pennsylvania has both minimum and maximum theoretical payout limits. Return statistics are publicly available online. The minimum legal gambling age in Pennsylvania depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos and poker rooms, it's 21. For bingo, the lottery, and pari-mutuel wagering, it's 18. In 2004, the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act passed. This act legalized slot machines at 14 locations. Of these locations, gaming licenses have yet to be issued for a standalone casino and a pari-mutuel racetrack with slot machines. Since July 2010, table games are in Pennsylvania casinos. In October 2017, the state legislature legalized casino gambling at truck stops, airports, and online. This bill also authorized 10 new satellite casinos with location restrictions. Casino operators may operate a gambling parlor at any of Pennsylvania's international and regional airports, assuming successful agreements with the airport authority. To gamble within a casino resort, players must be a guest there. Put another way, the gaming floors within the casino resorts are not open to the public. Next up is the usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. It is legal to own a slot machine privately in the state of Pennsylvania if it is 25 years old or older. The State Gaming Commission is the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, PGCB. The PGCB is responsible for overseeing slot machines and casino gambling in the state. Two different state gaming commissions are each responsible for the state lottery and charitable gaming. In this section, I'll discuss Pennsylvania gambling establishments. There are 2 casino resorts, 4 standalone casinos, and 6 racetracks with slot machines in Pennsylvania. The largest casino in Pennsylvania is Parks Casino. The second largest casino is Wind Creek Bethlehem. Pennsylvania has no federally recognized American Indian tribes, and therefore the state has no tribal casinos. As an alternative to enjoying Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Pennsylvania is to the north, New York and Lake Erie; to the east, New Jersey; to the south, Delaware, Maryland, and West Virginia; and to the west, Ohio. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit ProfessorSlots.com, followed by its 2-letter postal designation. For example, my New York slots article is available at ProfessorSlots.com/NY. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Pennsylvania? If so, join our Pennsylvania slots community on Facebook at ProfessorSlots.com/FBPA. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Pennsylvania. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, ProfessorSlots.com/FBPA. Join us. The theoretical payout minimum for slot machines in Pennsylvania is 85%. Further, the maximum theoretical payout limit may not equal or exceed 100%. Both limits apply to each single play. The PGCB makes monthly return statistics publicly available for each gaming facility. To calculate player win percent, divide payouts by wagers provided in each report. In summary, Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling consists of 2 casino resorts, 4 standalone casinos, and 6 racetracks with slot machines. The theoretical payout limits are a minimum of 85% and a maximum of up to 100%. Monthly return statistics by casino are available online from the State Gaming Control Board. Remember to sign up at ProfessorSlots.com/30days to register for my online course for slots enthusiasts. 30 days to play slots smarter and win, including how to leave a casino with your winnings. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.
Kombat is spelled with a K because I had done the creative and I had the ideas and I drafted a couple scripts that included that terminology and that creative. And I did that knowing the domain was available, and from my IT background, thinking it was going to be $19. And I go to buy it, and they flag it as a premium domain, and they want $2,000. And my wife was like, "No, you told me this was going to cost like $100."
That's right.
For this stupid idea of yours. No, you're not spending $2,000. And it's like, oh, well, if I spelled Kombat with a K, then what is it? $19.
You know, we are so similar. We're so similar. I went looking to see, I was basically, they say, come up with your superhero name. And I'm like, Dr. Slots? And I went looking and the URL was not available. Someone had already taken it and just, sitting on it. And I'm like, no, I'm looking for the $19 version. Besides, Dr. Slots is maybe too medical. And so I came up with Professor Slots. And I went and tried that. And I'm like, $19. Okay.
Yep. Well,